The United States of America. Unity and oneness is what we're made of. One nation under God, it's plain to see. We're showing the whole world what a country should be. United we stand in America, hand in hand in America. Together as one in a land that we love. United we stand in America.
Welcome to Changing Times. It is Wednesday, February the 11th. Valentine's Day is coming up, guys. You better remember that for your wives. And I tell you what, show number 279 blessings we've had. And we are live at the Acts Media Group headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. And I am Lynn Morris. And I tell you what, I look right here, and Dr. Mary Byrne is still not here. She's still working up in Jefferson City for the Senate. She's a PhD in education, and she is helping to change the education system in the state of Missouri. So proud of her, excited. I know what happens up there in Jeff City every day, and as I served up there 8 years. And she does do some work in the House, for the House, but she's primarily in the Senate every day during the times that the session is open. And so when she's not, she'll be back here sitting next to me. But today, we have just a tremendous opportunity, a real educational opportunity that I'm excited about. And a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, and I want you all to know how important the Middle East is. We hear about it on the news, and it's a long ways away, and people wonder sometimes why the federal government does this or doesn't do something, and why does it pertain to us, and a little bit about Israel and a little bit about Turkey and all the other places in the Middle East. And if you want to know more about it, you can read the Bible. There's a lot about the Middle East in the Bible. And things like that. But before we get started, though, I want to make sure people know, I'd love for you to email us. If you want to email us and let us know about what you think about this show, what can we do better? Email 4321. And by the way, get a pencil and paper, because when Dr. David Romano starts talking, you are going to be wanting to take down some notes, okay? You may see me taking down some notes. So get a pencil and paper. We got some important things getting ready to be spoken. So 4321, ACTS, A-C-T-S, at what is it?
Gmail.
At gmail.com. Very simple. 4321 ACTS, A-C-T-S, at gmail.com. That's very simple. Do that, please. Please do that and let us know what's going on. And then also, you guys know about Mrs. Guthrie disappearance out in Arizona. So now the FBI has pictures, and somebody knows who that person is. And I would love, and we would all love in this country, to solve this issue and bring her back safely. And I really believe that we're going to crack this case this week, and with your help, because the FBI needs your help. So anyway, so here we go. Dr. David Romano, how are you doing?
I'm doing real well. Always a pleasure to be here.
I am glad you're here. I've always wanted to just talk to you about what you do at Missouri State University, and I'm going to try to not botch this too much, but I'm going to tell that you have this man here. Sometimes I can look at it one time, somebody's bio, and I don't have to look at it anymore, okay? And I just got it down. But this is a little bit more complicated and in depth, okay? But this is important. I want to start out where you know who this man is, okay? And then he's going to tell you a lot more, okay? but he holds the Thomas G. Strong Chair in Middle East politics in Missouri State at Missouri State University, and Thomas G. Strong was a tremendous educator at Missouri State. Actually, they named a building.
Sure. Building I work in.
Yeah.
He's been a big donor to the university.
Yeah, and I had him when I was in school. Oh. So I actually know a little bit about him. Okay, and here's some of the really cool things. He's written a lot of articles. A lot of professors do this. This is a tremendous, some of the things that he's done. His work appears in many journals. So I'm going to try to read some of these international I can't read my own writing. International Affairs. International Affairs, Journal of Refugee Studies, Third World Quarterly International Studies Perspective, the Middle East Journal, Middle East Policy, the Kurds in the Middle East. I mean, just all kinds of things. Recipient of the 2015 Missouri Governor's Award for teaching. That's amazing. That's fantastic. 2020 Missouri Foundation Board for Service. 2020 Missouri Missouri State University Award for I was trying to see what this is, in study abroad program. You take a lot of students to other places.
Yeah,
right?
I've taken MSU students to Israel twice, Turkey, Croatia, and Bosnia.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's been an amazing learning experience for those students. You've got your PhD from University of Toronto, and you got a bachelor's and a master's from McGill University. Where's that at?
Montreal in Canada.
Oh, Montreal in Canada. Yeah. So how'd you end up in Canada?
I was born there.
Oh, so you're born there. Okay, well that's a good reason to be. That's a good reason to be in Canada. I get.
Start there.
Yeah. Okay, and then you just kind of ventured over here, eventually down here to Southwest Missouri, in the Springfield area, down in Ozark, Missouri, where I live. So that's. Pretty cool.
Places are linked. Like, I mean, I go around here in Missouri and there's French names everywhere. And I figure some of my ancestors came down here. And I've actually got a photo of my grandfather with Charles Lindbergh in St. Louis playing golf.
Yeah.
So it's all one continent.
Well, yeah. No, I think you probably have quite a few relatives down here. And they've made a real mark in our history. Actually, I developed some blood clots last week, and so I saw my new doctor, vascular doctor, this week, and she's French. So yeah, a lot of that. So we're going to kind of get started. I've got some kind of questions. I'm going to let you respond to them. We're going to first talk about your background in living in some of these areas, because you lived in Israel, you lived in Turkey, and you lived in Iraq. And that's going to kind of give us a perspective about the Middle East, because you've actually lived there. I've traveled some of those places. Yeah. And when we get to Turkey, I can tell you all the places I've been. Sure. I've been to 6 cities in Turkey. Mm-hmm. But tell us your background of those places.
Well, I spent about 2 years in each country. It allowed me to get pretty fluent in Hebrew and Turkish. In Arabic, I just barely get by, and Kurdish, I get by a lot better because, of course, in the north of Iraq, where I was living, it's an area they call Iraqi Kurdistan. It's where Kurds are the majority of the population, and they're Kurdish because their language is Kurdish, whereas some 80% of Iraq is Arab, but the north is Kurdish. And so living in all those places, I got to see different ways of how they go about things, and perspectives of the people there, the political struggles they're dealing with. And it's been a passion of mine for a long time to understand these areas better and help others understand them.
I've never been to Israel, but I've told Janet one of the things that I'd like to do before my time on earth is over is to go to Israel and just see the advancements and things that there. It's a very small country that's very amazing.
It's unique.
The people are very amazing, and you read about Israel in the Bible and the importance of it, and I just think this mostly this show. I don't know if we titled the show, but it's the importance of the Middle East. I mean, a lot of people just don't understand. This whole world is important. It all connects. God's got this all connected, but a lot of people don't think it's important. They don't understand. So I'm hoping we can bring that out. So, and where else did you live? Turkey?
Yeah.
Was that second?
Yeah, I did part of my PhD in Turkey and then a lot of field work in the eastern part of Turkey where the Kurds are a majority because my specialty was the Kurdish groups out there in the Middle East.
So what stands out in Turkey to you that you spent time there doing your PhD studies, and what stands out about those people?
Well, on one hand, just like Israel and Iraq, Turkey is full of amazing history and archaeological sites. And, St. Nicholas, even Santa Claus, was from Smyrna in Turkey, which is now called Izmir. And you can travel the country for years and years and still be discovering new things going back, thousands of years. But the modern politics, too, is really important and interesting. Like, it's the 17th biggest economy in the world. It's on the Bosphorus Straits, which, Istanbul controls the access to the Black Sea through the Bosphorus Straits. It's you can't get more geostrategically important in terms of location than that. And it's, for a long time when Turkey was with us in NATO during the Cold War, this was, the doorstep of the Soviet Union, right? They bordered Georgia and Azerbaijan, Armenia, like these were all part of the Soviet Union. So this was the front line, so to speak. And now, just like the rest of the Middle East, Turkey is located where the continents of Europe, Asia, and Africa meet. This is important. Like, I mean, you got the Suez Canal in Egypt. If you want to shorten the trip from Europe to China by about 5,000 miles, you're going through the Suez Canal. And if, Houthi rebels in Yemen in the Red Sea are hitting ships, then they got to go the long way around the Cape of Good Hope in the southern tip of Africa, adding 5,000 miles to the voyage. And if you can't find your goods on the Walmart shelf that you're going in to get, well, sometimes it's because of something that
so people just don't understand the connections, all the different intricate connections that go on. The Bosphorus Strait, I tell you, when Jan and I traveled to Turkey with some other state reps and senators, we spent about 7-8 days in Turkey, and we would fly from one little town to another. Turkey's a large country. Yeah. There's a lot of space. So we had it was a representative. I'm not exactly sure now this was between 2014 and 2018 in that time frame. And we got to go out on his yacht. Where the oceans meet out there.
Where like the Aegean meets the Straits of the Bosphorus and then the Black Sea. It's a gorgeous area.
It was beautiful, and we went out there on his boat and stuff like that. So as we went from city to city, we would, very interesting, each night we would spend a night with, our whole group would spend a night with a different group. So like one night we had a young college professor and wife. They both were professors. They both taught English in a Turkish school, university. And so that was one night we ate with them. One night we ate with a high-ranking engineer that built highways all in Turkey. So he was a very wealthy man, and we had this lavish dinner outside on the yard, and it was really nice. One night we ate with a man who ran the newspaper, which lost the newspaper later on with the leader that they have today.
Yeah.
But we also, it was just really fascinating, the different people that we got to experience their life with them for 5 or 6 hours and stuff like that. That was good. One thing I want to make sure that people understand, wherever Jan and I went, we were treated at that time, we were treated very well. And the Niagara Foundation, there were some gentlemen from St. Louis that had lived in Turkey, and they were our guides. There was 2 of them, and so we had a very nice transportation. They had everything lined up for us. But everywhere we went, talking to attorneys or whoever we talked to, they wanted their kids to have an education and a life like Americans. They do. And so they were trying to figure out how to get their kids over here, because things were starting to change in Turkey at that time. And at the same time, we would see these little refugee kids, no shoes and socks. They're barefooted. We saw no shirts on a lot of the little boys. Young boys. I'd say they were anywhere from 6 years old to 10, 12, just on corners, from Syria refugees. We saw, Jan and I tried to talk to them. We tried to buy them some little candy and food and stuff like that. We saw all that kind of stuff. And then one day in Cappadocia, we got to go on a hot air balloon.
Oh,
right.
Nice.
And boy, I tell you, that is just beautiful up there in the sky. And you see all of the caves that people used to live in, the caves and stuff like that, up on the mountains and things like that. They're all dug out and stuff. So we got to see a lot of stuff. But the one thing I remember the most is that people complain about our country. They complain about the United States. But yes, we've got a lot of problems. We've got a lot of serious problems. But it is still the best place in the world for lots of reasons. And I was just thinking, if we could all work together better and closer, we got so many smart people in our own country that I just can't imagine what this country could be like if we all worked together instead of working against each other. So, because over there, a lot of different places I've been, I've traveled, they all want to be like us. They all want to be like us. I see it all the time. So, okay, and Iraq, you lived in Iraq.
Yes.
So,
I lived there for about a year right after the war in which we overthrew Saddam Hussein's regime. I was doing research at the time for the Canadian Department of National Defense out there on refugee return issues and radical Islamist groups. And then I had 2 sabbaticals from Missouri State University where I spent a semester each time back out there. Living in the Kurdistan region of Iraq.
Very good. And the next thing I had marked was historical and religious importance in the Middle East. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, this is the birthplace of what we call the 3 great monotheistic religions, right?
Right.
And you could start with Judaism. You could even go further back to Zoroastrianism and so forth, which had a lot of influences on Judaism, and then of course Christianity, and then Islam. This is all there, and these religious traditions have given the world countless contributions in culture and science and things like mathematics. Like, I mean, we later on, when the Islamic empires formed, we had Islamic scholars translating Greek and Roman documents, and then Jewish literature into Arabic, and then adding to it. And then later in Spain, their clerks and scribes retranslate that back to Latin, and we get the knowledge back, even though we had lost it after the fall of Rome. This is kind of what allowed us to get into a renaissance. So there's been cross-fertilization in this area between all the different cultures for a long time. And I could talk about the Silk Road coming from China and trade routes that brought goods and knowledge and ways of thinking all across the world. Agriculture started there. The first tablets for writing that we're aware of. All kinds of inventions. I mentioned mathematics, but also astronomy and sanitation, the water gardens of Babylon and so forth. These were big sanitation projects, especially. So there's a lot of history and, of course, cultural and religious significance, which I probably don't need to explain to your viewers, but it's there that it started.
Well, it's amazing to me that when I was studying some of the things, I mean, you're exactly right. And mathematics, my background is mostly chemistry and biology and stuff like that, healthcare. But I had to take a lot of math courses too. So algebra, they kind of created algebra, trigonometry. I wish they hadn't invented trigonometry. I didn't like trig as much as I did algebra and some of the other calculus. I was okay with calculus, but all those things, I kind of came from there. And a lot of scientific things and like you said, cultural things and stuff like that. So extremely important because of religion and kind of getting religion started there and stuff like that. Well, what about another thing I had written down is the geostrategic and importance of the Middle East and then kind of talking about maybe. Let's see, what do we have? The competition between Russia and China and stuff like that. How's that all play out?
Well, I mentioned things like the Suez Canal and how the region is the connecting points of different continents. We have to mention, of course, oil. And even if the United States is largely self-sufficient in oil right now, the world economy depends on it. Our allies depend on it. And if there are major disruptions in oil and gas supplies, then we get economic disruptions and a ripple effect throughout the economy and disrupted supply chains and inflation. And we saw a bit of that for another reason when COVID was happening. But it could happen, because of a political conflict or so forth. And so U.S. policy has been focused on keeping, the oil flows stable. But then we also, I understand that there's a lot of people in this country who are like, we've been spending so much money in our affairs abroad and so forth. We need to kind of retreat back into ourselves and focus on problems here. But here's the thing. Our companies get contracts. Not just oil companies, but all kinds of companies, manufacturers, exporters of soy, barley, you name it, and manufacturers of cars and so forth, all over the world. And at the same time, there's competing companies from China, from Russia, from other countries. And if our government, if our state isn't there backing our interests, they get pushed out. So if you want to compete with China, you can't do it by retreating back, into our shores and letting them have free reign over there, because you can be sure that they're going to get countries over there to sign trade agreements that lock us out or that give them priority access to various raw materials or manufacturing contracts that they want and we also want. There's a competition going on. And so that's why our government has been traditionally quite active out there, because this is the real world, and it's not always the best guy wins in terms of their bid on the contract. It's a lot of geopolitical influence, right? And if we don't give some kind of aid to some of these countries, loans or what have you, the Chinese will give it to them. And what do you think is going to happen after that, right?
Right. Well, and you're exactly right. I mean, one of the things that people need to realize is the world's a big world, but it's really pretty small when you really think about how it's all interconnected and intertwined and things like that. So what I think about, like China, Iraq, I think about Iran, I think about Russia. You can shake their hand, but some countries, when you shake somebody's hand, that handshake really means something. For a lot of Americans, when you shake somebody's hand, that means something. But some of these countries they act like they're your friend, but I'm not really sure if they're really United States friends. And so we have to be careful. I think President Trump is a controversial person. Some people love what he's doing, some people don't. And one thing I would say is just what you said, Dr. Romano, is that we need to protect the United States interests, and it's not just in our 50 states. Our territory goes past that, because if we don't protect outside our boundary, then we could really have a problem someday. Because believe me, I do really believe that China and Russia wants the same things that we want. And we need to make sure that we're always first to take care of those, to make sure we protect our people in this country. And so I don't think that's wrong. And so we can debate on how we're going to get there, but I do like what President Trump's trying to do is to make sure that he's making things safe outside the country, because it affects us too. So I really like that. So, okay, well,
can I jump in?
Yes, sure.
We've got some hard choices in front of us. It's not always an easy one.
No.
And I'll give you an example. Our strongest allies in the fight against ISIS, the so-called Islamic State, were the Kurds, and we kind of just threw the Kurds in Syria under the bus. And Trump's envoy, Tom Barak, who's also the U.S. ambassador to Turkey, he seems to be repeating the narrative and the discourse of Turkey and Qatar and so forth regarding, a strongly centralized, unified Syria and so forth that leaves no room for Kurdish political autonomy. Not just Kurdish. The Kurds over there, they had set up an autonomous region that was, far from perfect. It was like a one-party state, but it also brought in Christians, Yazidis, secular Sunni Arabs, and people from all different groups and faiths, and it was a sanctuary. And now we just kind of turned them over to the new regime in Damascus. We didn't give them the backing after they basically defeated ISIS in Syria for us. So, Lindsey Graham has come out with something called the Save the Kurds Act to say there's no way we're going to tolerate massacres. Because there's been rumblings of ethnic cleansing and large-scale campaigns to massacre the people out there. These were our allies.
And they helped us.
Yeah. So we have to stay vigilant. We have to make sure that we back those who backed us, and that we're good with our allies. And so now even the Kurds in Iraq are worried, and they were our main ally against Saddam Hussein, because they're like, if we just threw the Kurds in Syria under the bus, are they next, and so forth. So, and some of our rivals are looking to see if we're given the green light for them to go after our former allies or current allies and so forth. So we got to be careful.
Well, I'm speaking to parents and grandparents. We don't have a lot of kids watching our show because they're in school, hopefully. But some of the things I want to point out, obviously, Dr. Romano knows a lot of different languages. He can speak more than one language. And I tried to tell my grandkids and my kids as they were going through the school system that you need to know more than English today. You need to know 2 or 3 foreign languages. The more you know that you can communicate with different people all around the world, the better you are. And then there's going to be some people like Dr. Romano, other people that learn what's going on in some of these other parts of the world, specialized in the Middle East for you, and you need to get involved in government, public service, and work your way up where you could be an advisor. They probably need somebody like you. I'm sure they've got some advisors about Middle East, but on the other hand, maybe they need a different type of advisor because honestly, yeah, a lot of us Americans, we don't want to let down the people that helped us. Yeah. I know some military people that served in Afghanistan, and when we pulled out, we left a lot of people behind, people who had risked their life and probably got killed after we left, risked their life to keep informants, to keep the United States safe over there and help win, help to fight, and then we left them behind. And I know some of the guys that actually live in the Springfield, Missouri area feel very bad about that.
Yeah. Timothy Hayes and one of my former students who was a veteran who served in Afghanistan, Timothy Griffiths, they were in the Springfield News Leader about how when that withdrawal from Afghanistan was happening, the translators that worked with us that they knew personally, their whole families were at risk. They got on the phone lines and they found ways to evacuate several. Yeah. It's our government that should have been doing that properly, not these guys who have, retired. Right. And come here. But to me, it shows, Americans on average are good people. They care about others and who they has backed us. They want to reciprocate and so forth. But when things get to like higher geopolitical levels, sometimes that just very natural common instinct that Americans have gets drowned out in the noise. And sometimes we do things that maybe, as a country that we're not going to be proud of. And so we always have to stay vigilant to keep, the values we all share front and center and help those who are with us out there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually one of the guys that's going to be on our show at some point, and it's because of you being here today I decided to do that. He graduated from Ozark High School with my son, and so he's 46, I think, and he's going to be on our show this summer because he was really pretty active. I can't remember what his rank was, but he was over there in Afghanistan 3 years, and he used several interpreters and translators and people, and then he did help raise money and get several of them back over here, but he did not get everybody. Right. He knew that. He knew that he left them, and then he heard later on that they were killed. And so that's not what I think America needs to stand for. Okay, you don't let down the people that helped you, or otherwise someday nobody will help us. Right. And so that's not the way we do things.
You can bet the Chinese and the Russians are trying to stand by their allies. We got to do the same.
Yeah. So I don't care which president that we have, they better be doing that stuff, okay? They better be doing that stuff. And so anything else on U.S. policy that we want to talk about, what we should be doing that you think?
Hey, there's no limit. We can talk about a lot. Like, I mean, we have to tread carefully out there. We have Arab allies as well, and some of them are pretty well in tune with our agenda. Like the United Arab Emirates is a solid, good ally that we can work with, and then others. There's some differences. Like take a look at Qatar. Yes, we have a big air base and a naval base there, and they've been a useful ally, but they're supporting pretty serious political Islamist groups throughout the region, including some not so nice groups and outfits, and they've been funding Al Jazeera programs that undermine even our domestic society here with some of their reporting and some of their bias. Friends like that can be dangerous. Right. We have to tread carefully, right? We have to look at the overall agenda of some of our allies and what they're trying to get for their own interests and what we're trying to get. And something I've been arguing for a while is you can find easy litmus tests. I think a lot of the viewers here on this program are very concerned about the fate of Christians internationally, right? So easy litmus test in the Middle East, what are the only two places where the Christian population has been increasing rather than decreasing because of people fleeing and so forth. And it's two places. It's the Kurdistan region of Iraq and northeast Syria, and it's Israel. Those are the only two spots.
That's only two places.
Yeah. And so even if you don't know that much else, you can say, well, those are decent allies of ours if they're plural enough to not be persecuting this group, this minority there, right? The Christians and others. And then you can take a country like the UAE and say, okay, they're against political Islam. Many of them are devout Muslims and so forth, but they're like, separate religion and politics and don't mix them in these dangerous ways. And okay, that's good. That's someone we can work well with and so forth. But then some other states, maybe I should stop naming names. I'll get in trouble. But I just lost my grant from Qatar.
but what you're saying is really important, and people need to realize. I mean, we have military bases all over the world. We don't just have them in the United States or right around the country. We have them all over the world, and they're very important to have allies or what you're kind of calling semi-allies, that they kind of work off both sides. But we need those military bases and to protect our interests. You can't have everything flying out of Missouri at the Grabauer Air Force Base and going way over there to the Middle East and things like that. So we've got to have more than that. So it's extremely important to our security to have control in the Middle East and keep it calm, keep it more peaceful and things like that.
And that's why we're spending a lot of effort trying to stabilize the situation in Gaza. We had a terrible war with a lot of deaths and casualties, and the Israelis can fight, but it doesn't look like they're able to come up with a political solution that can be minimally satisfactory for Palestinians in Gaza or even the West Bank. And so that's where we can step in and say, okay, we're your ally, but we're also, you need help.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I was going to ask you about Gaza because Israel is so important and the whole region is so important. And that conflict has been going on for, I don't know, is it hundreds of years or thousands of years? I mean, they just...
It depends where you want to trace it back to. If you want to go further back than 100 years, then you would have to talk about how under Muslim rule, Jews were not equal and often oppressed. Under Christian rule as well. And so they all decide to go back to their original homeland. And then that's the only way to really date it as older than 100 years, right?
Right.
Most of the time I look at it as a modern political, religious conflict. It starts over as a conflict for control over the land between Palestinian Arabs who live there and Jews, some of whom have been there continuously, others who just returned to what they call Israel, Judea, and Samaria. And into that political conflict, we've inserted religion that puts Islam and Judaism more at odds with each other than they used to be. Because when Judaism was subservient for 2,000 years, well, okay, no problem, right? But when they're not anymore, then problem. So that gets grafted onto there as well. And then we have the whole geopolitical thing, the Cold War time, Israel was our ally, showing that our weapon systems and way of doing things was better than the Soviet one, as it continuously defeated Soviet clients like Syria and Egypt and Iraq and others. So that was another element of the conflict. And so it gets hyper intertwined into everything. And now it's a source of instability in the region, because when a war flares up now between Israel and the Palestinians, it's not just between them. You got Hezbollah in Lebanon coming in. You got Houthis firing missiles from the Red Sea, Shiite Hashd al-Shabi militias in Iraq. Then it spreads to a 12-day war between Iran and Israel because Iran's supporting. And then suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, the stability for everything is at risk, including global trade flows, and we're at risk of getting refugee populations inundating Europe and others and so forth. So we try to step in to calm it down. It's a tough job. Like right now.
Do you think that President Trump's plan, have you studied the plan to see if he can settle some differences between the Palestinians and the people from Israel, and can we rebuild that Gaza area? And I mean, Trump has this vision, but that's what I'd like to see. I think a lot of people like to see that. Sure. But can we achieve it?
There's a lot of good elements to the plan, and President Trump is very good at coordinating to get others to join the plan, like Gulf Arab states who have the funds to help back it, because it's going to take a lot of money to rebuild everything. So I've looked at it. In my opinion, everything really hinges right now on one issue, and it's whether or not they can disarm Hamas. Because Hamas has hurt the Palestinians more than any group you want to mention. They started this last round of war and led to destruction of 90% of the Gaza Strip. Of course, Israeli forces did the destroying, but we know the context in which this happened, and when Hamas did the attacks on October 7th and took hostages and killed like 1,200 Israelis in a surprise attack and so forth. That movement has to go. Its weapons have to go. If you can disarm Hamas, then you can allow other Palestinians to come forward that have a more moderate way to deal with their demands and their hopes. I'm bringing one such Palestinian to Missouri State University on March 4th to give a talk. He's a fellow at the Atlantic Council. He runs a group called Realign for Palestine. His name's Ahmed Al-Khatib. And he's going to talk about, his vision for two-state solution and for a nonviolent Palestinian movement. He often spends most of his time lambasting Hamas. He says Hamas is destroying us. Now, if we don't get Hamas to disarm, like right now, no Palestinian can come forward in the Gaza Strip. They would kill this guy that I'm bringing to talk at MSU in March. So no one can step forward to offer an alternative. Even news reporters can't do a real news report there, because if Hamas doesn't like it, they're in trouble. So, any on-the-ground news reporter in the Gaza Strip right now that doesn't have an Israeli army escort, you can be sure they're not going to say a single thing that Hamas doesn't like, because it would be dangerous not to. This is why, Al Jazeera reports from Qatar coming out of Gaza, they're going to have one perspective, and that's going to be the perspective Hamas likes. That's not helpful.
No, it's not. So how do people find out if they live in Southwest Missouri area and they want to come and listen to this expert? How would they find out more information?
Well, I'm printing out the poster today after I get to the university when we finish our talk.
If you email me that information,
I'll email it to
we
you
can
as
put it
well.
on
Yeah.
our show. We can put it on our screen.
And
I just think
we're going to have him on our local NPR, the Ozark NPR station as well, and it'll be on the university calendar too.
Okay, well, great. I just think knowledge is very important, that you need to keep learning. Someday I hope my grandkids, I think my kids finally got that figured out, but sometimes right now, Dr. Romano, I talk over at the schools. I'm going to be talking at Ozark High School to almost 500 kids here coming in May before they graduate. And
my son was one of them. He's a senior at Ozark High School.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell him I'm actually working with the county with the government instructor over there. He's been there 13 years, and we're now starting some new programs and going to try to teach kids about the importance of government. One of the key things that I found out is, of course, the kids only know mostly what their parents have told them, what they hear at home. And so this is something that I just heard 2 days ago, that when they asked the kids, the 77 kids that are juniors that's in this government class, these are pretty advanced students, and they wanted one word. And what do you think about government? And he said, county government. That's what I'm in. And they said corrupt. Corrupt. Okay? So we have a job to do. Yeah. We have a job to do. I take that challenge because, yes, there are corruption in everything in life, but there's a lot of people that I work with that certainly corruption wouldn't be part of their description. So we need to teach young people the importance of government, why they should be involved in government, know what's going on in government, support government, and yes, when there's something that's not going right and you don't think it's right, you have a right to speak up and to protest and do things, but you do it in the right way. You don't impede law and order, and you don't burn down buildings and things like that. So I'm anxious to start this new program at Ozark High School, but we're actually going to be doing it in 10 school districts in Southwest Missouri. So it's really, really pretty good. Well, I'm going to give you the last words, but I'm going to talk about our two speakers. So just kind of think about how you want to kind of sum up what we were talking about today. This is absolutely amazing. I really appreciate you being here. We have two great sponsors. We have Brad Pistow, a certified fiduciary financial planner located in Ozark, Missouri. His phone number, this is why you need a pencil and paper. He's licensed in 23 states. He's not just licensed in Missouri. There's people watching this show in other states. And he knows people in the other states, the other 27 states. So you can get the best financial advisor retirement specialist by just calling 417-581-9222. 417-581-9222. Lisa will answer the phone. I use this man. He has secured my retirement plannings. I will never run out of life before I run out of money. Okay? You're just not going to run out of money. You're going to have enough money if you follow his plans that you'll be okay. So the other thing that he's done, and you can get those books, he'll send you information. He doesn't charge you to talk to you, and he has two best-selling books on retirement planning. The first one is Safe Money Matters, #1 best-selling book on retirement planning, and then Bulletproof. You can get those those books, you can get information, and I highly recommend it. And then they also specialize in investments, and so you can buy securities, you can buy annuities, you can buy anything you want to buy from them. So their retirement planning, their investments, they do it all. They also do Medicare. They actually do about everything that you need in life. So I highly recommend them. The other sponsor is Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. I just heard from Dr. Mary last night. She just bought a Nissan Rogue yesterday. So that's our sponsor. On Labor Day, I bought a Kia Sorento SUV. So now we bought two cars next to each other, and Aaron Swanson, that's been on our show, the sales manager, he helped Dr. Mary buy a car yesterday, and she was just ecstatic. Said she got the best service in dealing with Aaron, and saved a lot of money. She loved her trade-in. She loved everything about what her experience was. And so Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia, their phone number is 417-882-3737, 417-882-3737. I tell you what, 45 years in business, family-owned, right in Springfield area. They actually sell cars from people in other states that come and travel into this area. They have such a reputation. They're located on South Campbell, 3535 South Campbell. New cars on one side, used cars across the street on the other side. We highly recommend these two sponsors. I have people that want to be sponsors, and for one reason or another, we're just very particular about our sponsors. So I know that these two sponsors will take care of you if you need them. Okay, so last words. What do you think about that we could leave with our audience about the Middle East?
Sure. Sometimes we talk about pretty difficult topics and power, interest, security, and so forth. But you said something during our talk that really I wanted to highlight. If you can, go to the Middle East, and pretty much no matter where you go, they will receive you very hospitably. You can go to Turkey, you can go to Israel, you can go to the Palestinian home in the West Bank, you can go to Kurdistan, Qatar, the other parts of the Gulf, Iran. Well, Iran you can't go to right now because of different issues, but if you could, they are the most hospitable, kind host that you could wish for. Sometimes there may be higher political differences that you agree not to talk about, but they are very welcoming. And if you see people from the Middle East here in the U.S., take the time to ask them about their story. See how they got here and what they think about what's going on back there. It's really an interesting region.
I think that's good advice, Dr. Romano, because I know the 6 different cities that we went to started at Istanbul, and that's a great big place.
Yeah. 18 million.
Is it 18 million? Yeah. 8? Can you imagine a city with 18 million people? So I was thinking maybe it was 12 million, but 18 million, my goodness. But everywhere we went, you're exactly right. Everywhere we went, those families, they were so nice to us. They treated us really nice. I enjoyed talking to them and things like that. So, yeah, if you could go, that'd be someplace. I think the more we learn about everything else in the world, the better off we are. Not just our own little area. Branch out. We love to travel. Jan and I love to travel, and so. Cuba is a place. We've been to Cuba.
You've been to Cuba?
I got to talk to people. I spent almost 8 days in Cuba with the government and making sure that we understood things. I will tell you that the government-owned grocery stores in Cuba, weren't very good compared to the grocery stores that weren't the government owned. And I have a feeling in New York City that the people are going to experience the same thing. Us Americans in New York City are going to find out that the city-owned, government-owned grocery stores aren't going to be near as good a selection either. So we'll see. We'll see how this experiment works out with a different type of government in our largest city in the country. So we'll see. We'll see all that stuff, but keep the Guthrie family in your prayers. Pay attention to what's on TV now. Normally I wouldn't tell you that, but because I don't trust everything on TV. But they've got pictures. They've got good pictures, and they're coming up with more and more pictures of maybe who abducted Mrs. Guthrie. And if anybody in this country knows anything, make sure you contact law enforcement and keep them in your prayers. Okay? And we'll be back next week. It's going to be an interesting show. I don't know if you've heard of flock cameras. They're the license plate cameras that's all over the country. We have them in Christian County. We have them in Greene County. We have them all over this area. They're used for law enforcement, but some people don't like them. Some people think that it's an invasion of privacy and that they could use them in the wrong way. And so we're going to have some experts on our show next week that's going to really enlighten yourself. A lot of people don't even know they exist. But everywhere I've been, all over the world that I've been to different countries, there's cameras everywhere. And then, your cell phone, they know where you're at all the time anyway. You don't even have to take a picture of yourself. They can follow you around everywhere. So we don't have as much privacy as we think we do, but I think this will be an interesting topic. And so we'll be back next week. Thank you very much for being here today. You are a difference maker. Everybody on our show is a difference maker. Not everybody gets to be a difference maker. We need more difference makers, but you are a difference maker. Think about how many students do you think that you've helped and taught and educated over your career?
I haven't taught, but I haven't counted the number, but it's been a complete privilege. Sometimes I get students who are veterans who were out there and now want to understand it. Sometimes I get students who have never been out there, want to understand. Sometimes I get students from places like Iraq and Turkey. I have an Iraqi student and a Turkish student right now who came from those places to do their master's degree under me. And it's been a privilege. I learned from them as well. And
I just know that you've made a difference in a lot of people. Yeah. And that's important. Yeah. So anyway, we'll be back next week. Stay blessed. We'll see you next week.
We're the United States